Hi, it's Monie, and welcome to Mind and Your Business. Hi, friends. Welcome to Mind and Your Business with Monie. Welcome back. We're in a new place. We're in a new space. We feel kind of special. Pretend that we're like, I don't know, what do they call it in the news when you're like out in the field? Reporting live from blah, blah, blah. We're reporting live from the lobby of where we typically record this podcast. And I'm with my friend, Troy. And yeah, say hello.
Hello.
Hi. So I know Troy through a number of different like personal friendship encounters, but really like the background of Troy is that we met at a gym. Which I
drove past on the way here. And I even drove through the parking lot just to kind of rekindle the memory.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I did.
That's cool.
Over on Union Hills.
All right, cool. So blast from the past. So we met at a gym. I met him the same day that I met my husband, which is kind of weird to think about. And came to learn that he is not just a wonderful friend, but he is like a incredible dentist. Are you like dentist? Are you what? You're like an oral surgeon, right?
I'm a dentist, but I have oral surgery training.
Okay.
A lot of advanced training.
And you own how many?
Three practices.
3 practices of it's affordable dentures?
Yes.
Okay.
Affordable dentures and implants.
Okay. So you own 3 practices in like the service, obviously like healthcare service. You are also, from what I know, like helping coach and train other dentists. Like that's a huge passion of yours, right?
Yes. Most of the other practice owners in the state of Arizona have been my former associates. So probably like 4 other practice owners in Arizona has been my former associates.
Okay, cool. So, you know, to me, you're this all around like friend, but this amazing professional. And the reason that I wanted to have you on my podcast is because getting to know you over the years, it's just very clear that you've always had just such a great perspective on like mindset. And you've been so driven in building your business. But every time I talk to you, like you're joyful, you're happy, you seem like passionate, invigorated about what you're doing. And so I thought you would be a wealth of knowledge for people who are interested in this type of topic, which is like the 4 or 5 people who listen to my podcast. Two of which are you.
I think it's more than 4 or 5, Monie. I think it's been a great asset that you have been growing this podcast.
Well, I thank you for that. So I wanted to just get into it, if it's okay for us just to kind of talk about you,
Sure.
about your perspectives, what you've learned, and like see what maybe we can glean from all of your experience.
Okay.
That's cool.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So I would love to learn first, because I actually don't know this. Like, how did you get started in dentistry?
Well, believe it or not, probably since the age of 4 or 5, all I can remember ever saying that I wanted to become a doctor. And so doctor at that point in time had many, many different meanings. But as life went on through high school towards college, it went from medicine, from working in a hospital as a volunteer. And I found out very quickly I didn't want to become a physician. I didn't like the hospital death and dying scene. I transitioned over to dentistry because in dentistry, you can only kill one person one time and you're pretty much out of the field.
Like it.
One and done.
Got it. Okay, cool. So you got into dentistry, and then like when did you know that this is like exactly what you wanted to do? Did you have immediate passion for it? How did all that kind of unfold? Because it feels like going from a dentist to what you are now, which in my mind is like a super dentist leader, like industry leader, out talking, speaking, coaching. Like there's a big jump between those two things.
Well, you know, coming from my family, my dad was a pretty big entrepreneurial person in Detroit. He owned a transportation company. He owned, over 100 cabs. He owned his own cab company. He owned school buses and other means of ground transportation. And I was the only son, and I wasn't the only child, but I was the only son. And basically, I was involved in that business, and I really didn't like that business. And everybody kept saying, why would you want to go and become a dentist and you could do all this, take over all this? It reminds me of Fred Sanford and Son, for those who remember that. You big dummy, I'm building this empire. You're going to be a dentist. But anyway, I had a passion for helping people, and I just felt like the greater service of helping people was doing dentistry. And I remember this one pivotal conversation with my father. He said, there's dentists and there's real dentists. And son, if you're going to go into dentistry, you need to find out what you mean, which one you're going to be. And I think he was saying there's slackers, knowing my dad, he's talking about there's slackers who are being just a dentist, and there's people who are transforming the field of dentistry.
Got it.
And that's the way I perceived it, and that's the person that I always strive to be.
So do you feel like that's what your dad was in like the transportation industry? He applied that same kind of, like he was going to transform it. He was going to make that what he wanted it to be. Is that the approach he had with that?
That's the approach he had. He did a lot of dynamic stuff back in the early 70s in the area of Detroit where a lot of segregation was at. And so he was definitely a trailblazer in a lot of different things as far as land transportation in the city of Detroit.
Oh, oh my God. Tell me more about the segregation stuff, just because I'm interested in that.
In the city of Detroit back then, it was kind of polarized. And for an African-American man to have a business not working for somebody, it was kind of like, it was kind of unheard of, especially to the magnitude that he took it to. And so when he did this one deal to actually obtain his own company, the story has it from my parents, he received a lot of death threats from opening that business.
Wow.
So,
God.
But he broke the doors down, and next thing you know, he put his own little dent in things in the city of Detroit.
So how do you think seeing him do all that impacted you?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't think I can have the vision of doing the things I do if I didn't see that with my dad. I mean, the things that he had me over, I was running stuff at an early age.
Right. Okay.
But I had to learn how to work before I ran things. So I just thought the whole journey of working helped me to become the dentist and entrepreneurial person I am now. So it's a shade of my dad and things I do because I've seen it at such an early age at such a high level. And he was actually using philosophies of, of thinking that he never preached or taught. Is that when I look back now, some of the things he did, he had to have that mindset of overcoming things and creating things out of his imagination that never was there before to become that first person.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God, that's so cool. I had no idea that was that background. See, this is why we have this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said I had to learn to work before I could run things.
Oh yeah, he was a big believer. No, he said, no, just because you're the boss's son and the next one in line, you got to learn how to sweep this floor. Because until you learn how to sweep this floor, how can you hire someone to sweep the floor?
Interesting. Okay.
And how do you know if they're ripping you off by sweeping the floor inaccurately or not properly? You have to learn all these things in order to get up to the point of running things.
Yeah. So does that apply today for you as a dentist? Was that part of like your journey of I'm a dentist, I got to learn all of it, and then? Yeah,
I guess that's how I'm a teacher now because I'll go in and do the impressions. I do everything until I start training the auxiliary staff to start doing all these things, so I can know how they're doing it correctly.
Right.
And that's the biggest struggle now with some of my younger doctors that's under me. They don't do these things, so that it's hard for them to translate the action or the responsibility of these things to auxiliary because they haven't really did it.
Right.
They just assume the role and position. I'm Dr. Brannon's managing dentist at this practice.
Right.
And I want you, auxiliary person, to do this. But they don't know how to do it really as well. And so I have to go back through some of these offices and retrain whoever the lead auxiliary person is to get them up to task.
Yeah, because you're right. It's the saying, I use it a lot, like with my stuff that I do, which is inspect what you expect. But how can you inspect it if you actually don't know what it's supposed to look like in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So how did you know that this was the thing that you wanted to do, like building what you're building? How did you come to a place to be like, yeah, this is my passion, this is my purpose? Or did you? Is this your purpose and passion?
I think that my mindset, my style of thinking got me to where I'm at now. But prior to that, I always had joy in doing dentistry. Again, it goes back to I always wanted to be a doctor, but I think the core to that was I always want to help people. And I think that's the greatest joy I have in dentistry. I can do that work that day. I can see the change I make that day. The patients can receive and see that change, and their smiles. That's the door to a person is often their smile, and you can see how you change that person's life. How many times I've gotten meals, hugs, blankets made. pictures made, paintings made. I mean, all these other things that I've gotten, just from just doing the service that had joy in it. But I changed that person's life so much, it impacted them so much, they wanted to go the extra yard to give me a gift. It's crazy. Crazy.
So, like, at the base of everything, it's about having the joy in the service.
Definitely, without a doubt. And I think what's happening in the profession now, or any profession, we're so, I'm just going to say money driven. That's the only thing I can think of. Of course, we need to get money and compensation for our services, but we're so driven by that and whatever professional status that we have to line up our lifestyle with that professional status. Right. We're so driven to that we lose the joy and the passion of the service that we're providing to the people.
Yeah, so I see it a lot in my profession too. And that's why I like this conversation, because I think it's interesting. Like, we both are in service. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm in a service industry and so are you. We're both providing pretty high level professional services. You're in healthcare, I'm in real estate, sales. I think that one of the things that's missing when I'm interacting with realtors is that joy. Like, where's the joy in putting together the deal? Where is the joy in, like, figuring out how to move a client forward or how to solve a problem that somebody has? Like, mm-hmm. I think that is like a missing link for so many people. And you're right. There's so much focus on money, or so much focus on, like, status, being able to have a certain title, instead of, like, getting into the little moments, like it being present in the little moments that help generate that, like, feeling of purpose, right? Like, I think being able to marry that, for me, being able to bring that joy to my work has caused me to be more successful and productive and profitable. Yes. But I'll be honest, I notice if I get out of that vibe, my shit, like, plummets. Like, there's a direct relationship when I lose that, I don't know, that, like, childlike, I don't know what's the word. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to keep saying the word joy, but it's that word. Mm-hmm. What do you think that's about? Like, what is the connection between the joy and, like, the success? What is that?
I think, and there's two different words you can use, happy and joy. And there's a big distinction. Happy is just in the moment, the thing stimulate a response, you feel good about it, but that's not necessarily joy. Joy is with you through both the good and bad. I mean, even though I have good patient outcomes, I got some crazy patients that I have to deal with, and crazy staff have to deal with, and everything is not roses, peaches, and creams. It's things I have to go through, but the joy of the outcome, the joy of overcoming, the joy of getting that patient that was a frumpy patient to a happy patient, that's all part of the joy aspect. Happy is, I got my paycheck, I got my bonus, I got this patient out the door. Yeah, it's the weekend. Yeah, we're popping bottles. That's all happy. Yeah, but it's not part of the joy. And I think one instructor in dental school told me, he says, "Hey, Troy, I think things are going to work out for you. I want you to remember this one thing: focus on the work, focus on getting better and better, and don't run back and forth looking at the till, counting the patients, what they're paying. Oh, and if you do that, life will be good for you." And that guy, doctor, whatever his name was, now I can't remember, he ain't never lied. Yeah. Because if you pulling a tooth or filling a tooth and you run up there checking everything like a madman, mm-hmm. and putting your hands in the till, you're never going to get a hit. No, you're right. And it goes to what I talk about a lot too, which is the fundamentals. Like, I have a course that I'm building and teaching for agents called The Fundamentals, and it's around, like, sales, like, just certain strategies and tactics and it's honestly ways of thinking through a sales process. But I think it's the same thing of what you're talking about, which is, like, stay in the moment of what you're doing and get really good at it. Like, focus on every aspect of it. Get so fucking good at every aspect of it. And also find joy in it. You know what? It reminds me of, like, a Bible verse that I always think about as a wife. Like, maybe it's not even as a wife, but just as a support person.
This shows you how much I don't go to church because I'm going to
Spit it
really
out.
fuck this up.
Don't worry, I might be able to clean it up.
Okay.
Maybe.
So it's about like how you should bring your best self or like a happy spirit to your work. Like if you're supporting somebody, you should do it with like a
cheerful
heart, a joyful spirit.
Be a cheerful giver.
So that always pops in my head. Like if I'm, my husband needs something, go get the thing. Do it with a cheerful spirit. Don't do it with this, okay, like I guess I can do it,
Yes.
like do it, right? So a lot of times I have to remind myself because sometimes I'll start getting funky, like slipping into some type of thing. I'll be like, no, do it with that cheerful spirit. Do it with that joyful spirit. And I think like when it comes to what I do and maybe when it comes to what you do and maybe when it comes to what all of us do, it's getting to what if you did every little part of it with that full intensity of that cheerful spirit?
That's it.
Like I get to do it. I don't have to do it.
That's it.
And if you put together enough of that, does that turn into the best possible result? I mean, how does it not? Right?
It happens that way. I found out over the years, in the process of serving people and serving others, you inadvertently will get served, either through the outcome or through another party who was even part of the picture. They come in and actually help you to get it done, or even come around and acknowledge you and promote you from the things that you're doing with no intention. You're just doing it from the joy of the whole matter, and next thing you know, you get promoted. I mean, that's kind of how I can even explain my rise and what I'm doing now with the multiple practices. It was nothing. Did I have ambition to have 3 offices? No. I just rose to the occasion. The door knocked. I answered. I said, I can do this because I can. And I took the charge. And next thing, 1 became 2. And the next thing, the door knocked again, and 2 became 3. And then, the other doors knocked. And then, I got other things going on in the state of Arizona in the form of dentistry. So it all comes from not looking to do these things. It all came in the process of serving others. And in the process of serving others, I got served.
Ooh, in the process of serving others, I got served. Ooh, oh, I love that. Okay, so what you're saying is you didn't actually have a vision to necessarily have this exact thing. Like,
oh, no way.
So did you have an intent? Like when you started down this track and now you're this, I mean, to be honest, you're big fucking deal in the dentistry world.
Well, my main office was big enough. I had just expanded my office from a 2,000 square foot, my main office from a 2,000 square foot office.
But even having an office, did you even think you would ever have your own?
Oh, yeah, because I had my own office in Michigan. I started from scratch. So once you start from scratch, back when you didn't know nothing, to start from scratch again when you know something, it's nothing.
And you started from scratch because did you start from scratch because you were like, fuck it, I'm just going to start? Because I know a lot of dentists who don't ever have their own place.
It goes back to the upbringing with my father.
Right.
I mean, you're going to serve, you're going to apprentice. That's a big word I use now in our profession. We have lack of apprenticeships. We have lack of mentorships. How can these young dentists become anything but what they're becoming now because they have no mentors? But that's another story. That's another spinoff. But I served underneath a doctor in Detroit that was probably a large practice owner, pretty significant size in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And then, next thing I know, an opportunity opened up to have my own practice from scratch. My dad always told me, he says, when you think you know more than the guy you work for, that's when you need to get your own shit. And so I remember one day I came home and I was kind of criticizing what Dr. Woodruff was doing in his practice. And like I said, at that time, he had one of the largest practices in the city of Detroit. And he says, I was trying to tell him the story. He said, hey. You think you know more than Dr. Woodruff? And I said, no, I don't think I know that. I just think I would do differently. And he said, you know what, son, it's time to get your own shit. And so at that point in time, the opportunity came up out of the blue again.
Of course.
And I got an office not too far from where I grew up at. I can remember walking past that office, pulling berries off that tree, going to 7-Eleven past that tree.
Oh, my God.
So when I owned that building, to sit out there and shovel the snow in front of that place and cut the grass in front of my first practice, who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
Walking past swimming lessons in front of that whole place. I mean, it's just crazy. So that was very, insightful how everything kind of came
super like
around.
full circle too. Wild. So you started with, okay, I can do it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Started one practice from scratch. Back then you could do it because the costs were low. This is back in the 90s. So 1996, I started my first practice and had it for 10 years and built it into, probably about $1 million and a half dollar practice, which was pretty good at that point in time.
And then what happened?
Then I got a divorce. Then I ended up moving to, I guess the divorce and someone seeing me teaching dental technology all kind of came together. So I was doing, so a lot of times in anything, I guess it's go back to that talk my dad had with me. Either going to be to give you more description of that conversation, he said, either you're going to be a shit-ass dentist or you're going to be a real dentist. And I'm saying it from the point, for those who knows my dad, that's just the way he would talk.
Yeah.
And it just drove me to go ahead to say that anything that anyone is doing, they have to find a spot in that field to excel in.
Like a niche.
They have to find a niche and work that niche. And so what I did when I started from scratch that put me over the hump was I started dwelling into new dental technologies, like machines that make crowns in a day.
Got it.
And things of that
Okay.
nature. And I was one of the few doctors in the city of Detroit that was doing that.
Oh,
And so that would took me
smart.
over the hump. But in the process of me training other doctors eventually across the country, someone saw me and did a headhunt and brought me out to Arizona.
And okay, cool.
Right in the process
Okay.
as I was going through a separation, which spiraled into being divorced.
Oh my gosh. So that is so wild that you say that, because that is, I think, amazing advice for even like mostly real estate agents listening or whatever, is like finding your niche, right? Find the thing that you can stand out in and then just really like
Work the hell out of it.
work the hell out of it, get out there, talk about it, be the one that does that. So I did that inadvertently with first time buyers. Like for my business, I liked first time buyers, and I happened to own a company that had a bunch of 22-year-olds that went there. It was a gym. So
Yes,
I owned
I
my
remember.
gym.
Mm-hmm.
Joanna and I had the gym. So it was like a bunch of people who definitely didn't own houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are my clients. So I fell into this niche, but then I was talking about it all the time. I developed a passion for it, and I also developed a very, very high skill level with it. So it just became like, to this day, this is like my 8th year doing real estate, which is crazy. I still, like, people are like, I hear you're the first time home buyer queen. Yep, that's right.
You became the expert.
I'm the expert in that, right? So what you're saying is you developed a niche, became the expert in it, and then because of that, a door opened.
That is correct.
Opportunity presented itself. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what happened?
Came out here, opened an office, a brand new spanking office, just for me. Over here in Paradise Valley on Tatum and Cactus, and opened that office, worked for 2 years at the particular company, and then I left that company, and then I'm been with Affordable Dentures and Implants as a practice owner since 2009.
Okay. So how has all of this unfolded, like, in your opinion, like your spirit, like when you look at this, what do you think of this? Like the way all this has gone for you? What is your impression of it?
I think the doors open because of the things in your heart. It's a good book that I like. I got several books I like to read from, but one of the books that changed my style of thinking is called As a Man Thinketh.
Okay.
It's a turn of a century book. I've got the name of the author right now, but it says
You said As a Man Thinketh? Okay.
Yeah. It's a spinoff of a Bible verse, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not as a man thinketh in his mind, but as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So those things, as I keep, again, serving people, trying to be the best I can be, thinking how the best outcome can always be, not only just for me. Mm-hmm. Thank God there's never been all me. Maybe when I was younger, a little bit half and half, but definitely as the older I got, it was not all just me. I think as you think those different ways in your mind and your heart, mm-hmm. these things will start manifesting themselves in your life. These doors will start opening up. These opportunities will open up. These different other avenues of changing your mindset will open up to even higher levels from that one book.
So for you, you're really talking about like creation from a pure place.
Yes.
And how would you relate that back to joy?
Oh, because you're creating from a pure place. That's going to stimulate the joy of it all, because you start seeing things manifest itself.
Yeah.
Not only this, again, in the process of serving others, you will be served. You're never even looking at yourself, because once you get in that rhythm, you never look out for you, because it's just going to fall back to you tenfold. Sometimes not even the same magnitude that you gave out. You think you gave out 100, but then next thing you got 200 back.
Right.
But it was never your intention of getting 200. It was never your intention of getting anything back. It was just the joy of, I had this thought. It's like when a patient comes to me, doctor, can you fix my mouth? Every mouth is not the same. So I gotta think about it. And it's crystal clear, because I got to sell them the thought that's in my mind. That's how they say yes. Because they can't see it, because their mouth is jacked. So I sell them something of what's in my mind, and it becomes, they say, it's just like you said it was going to be. But I'm doing this big complex surgery, and everybody's watching me doing the surgery, because the surgery...
I see your eyes lighting up right now.
The surgery is connection to the vision of the outcome.
Right.
I mean, anybody can do a surgery, but if you don't have the connection to the outcome, that surgery is going to be jacked. There's a lot of lawsuits. But anyway, so when it all rolls out and the patient's satisfied, it's like, great. So now there's an even exchange going on. I asked for this to get that. They gave me this and they got that. The next thing you know, they tell 3 or 4 other people.
That's exactly right.
I didn't ask them. I didn't poke and prod them. People know how bad their mouth looked. They said, who did this and how they did and
right.
How can I get to them?
God, this is so similar to what I do.
So it just comes that way. Then the staff grows. The staff learns something from that experience. So next time we have another case like that, everybody's on top of it. So now I do even less. So it's another way I'm doing.
So it starts to flow.
Now the staff is involved. Now they're selling cases because, this is nothing. We did this, a more difficult case than that. I'm like, I'm just looking at the staff. Okay, great. They believe. Now everybody's moving. Now I can move from office to office, because if the staff doesn't believe in you and your ability, I'm not in one office all the time. I have to build that staff up to believe and see what I see. God. So I can move to the next area to build that next staff so they can see what I can see, to move to the next office so I can build that staff so they can see what I can see. And now I can move.
Okay, this is so valuable for me right now, because I have taken over. I have my team here, but I've taken over a bigger team at my company plus the Zillow team at my company. So I've all of a sudden now kind of have 3 teams. And what you just said is like the thing I haven't really been putting intense thought into, about helping them see what I see. So if I can get them to see what I see, then I can move more. Then if I can just get them to adopt a few thoughts or adopt a few perspectives.
Foundational.
Okay, then I don't have to stand there with them as much, and I can move to the next and work on it, and then I can sort of just rotate through. Oh, that's really good. God,
that's
I'm so glad you said that.
That's the only way I can do it. So I got 2 practices locally in metropolitan Phoenix, but then I have another practice in Bullhead City, Arizona, which is 3.5 hours away.
Right.
So how can I get this train of thought going through our practices? It takes the time that you have to spend with one practice to turn around to go to the next practice and spend that same quality of time and build up key individuals, because sometimes you may not have the right team. So you have to find out who's the strongest and fill into the strongest and build up their thought, build up their belief in themselves, build up what we're trying to get to as a team. And you keep building them up, and then you can move on to the next one.
So like empower.
Empower and ownership.
So how did you know to do that?
I'll probably say over the years. It was definitely from my dad. My dad was, I won't say a dictator, but pretty close. So I didn't learn that from him.
He wasn't leading like that, huh?
No. He's leading by, knocking,
iron fist.
Yeah, knocking heads, yeah. It was a cab business in the city of Detroit, and land transportation is a tough business. That's why I just couldn't. It brought out a different side of me that was not the true me.
Yeah.
You had to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I could be that way, but that's not the true me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did I learn over time? So I went to a lot of different trainings because I couldn't translate what I was learning in the transportation business over to dentistry as far as leading people, because that just won't work. You're going to have a lot of people running out if I ran it like that. I ran the cab business.
Right.
So I started going to different leadership conferences and consulting groups to learn how to actually bring up a staff of people. So it's just more or less investing money and time in myself to learn how to be a better version of the dental boss that I needed to be.
So like consistently theme every person that I talk to, invest time and money in myself, like to make myself better so that I can go make other people better.
That's correct.
Okay. I feel like that's the key takeaway. Okay. So I'm already doing that. So that's good. So how are you able to identify who your key people are? Like, what are you looking for? This is probably for like team leaders. If you're listening, you have teams and you're trying to build it. Like so I have a real estate team, right? And I have obviously agents of different levels. I have like a team manager, I have administrators. And it's never quite clear, like exactly who is the right person to pour into or who are those people that you should. So what are you generally looking for with that?
People who are already got a motor. People are already moving, and they moving, getting things done to the best of their ability, but you know you can do it. They can do it better. And then you start pulling these key people aside one by one and give them a basic concept and see how they respond to it, almost like a blink test. I give them, I say, hey, do you know how to do a digital? And they look down on the ground. They're not the one. Hey, do you know how to do digital? Would you like to learn? And their eyes light up. And yeah, sure. I love the way that looks, Dr. Brand. I always wanted to do that. I thought you'd never ask me. Okay, check.
Okay.
The other one that had the same motor, they're moving around, but they look down. That's not the one.
Yeah. Okay, so has a motor. What else? Like as you're working with them, what are you trying? What skills
communication? They got to be able to communicate.
Okay.
I have a couple of people now that I got to move around. They are good motors. They come to work on time, good integrity, but they're not good communicators to patients. So I got to move them around to get them out of those situations.
And do you feel like you can develop that in them, or do you just remove them from these situations?
I just move them from situations. I have a funny saying, and I don't know if I explain it, but I said pigs can't be deers.
Okay.
You can put antlers on a pig, and you was a pig owner, so you could.
I literally was a pig owner, you guys. That wasn't an insult. I had a pet pig.
But anyway, you could put antlers on a pig, and as much as that pig thinks he is a deer, that pig would never jump bound over a pond like a deer would. It would never produce another deer. It's fruitless.
Okay.
And sometimes I talk to other practice owners that were former associates that are now practice owners, and they're just dealing with staff and say, hey, I know about so-and-so. You're trying to make them be something they're not. You need to move them around. They're a valuable asset. That's why you want to cling on to them, but you're trying to make them be something that they're just inherently not.
You need to put them where they belong.
Exactly. Yeah, they're key, but you got them in the front, and they need to be in the back, or they need to be to the side doing this.
Well, put people in their power position. Like, where are they most strong? Find that place, put them there. Don't try to make them strong in a place they're not naturally strong.
Pigs can't be deers.
Okay. Pigs can't be deers. I think we're going to name this episode that. Pigs can't be deers.
Pigs can't be deers.
Well, I think that the last thing that I wanted to just maybe drive home, or I just think is so like, I don't know if it's coming through listening or on the go, please.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. One catalyst of change for me.
Okay.
I can identify it around 2012 or 13. So in this particular group of practices under affordable dentures, or DSO, that's what we call it basically, a management group. I'm ambitious. I said, I want to be the number one office in the West. I just want to be the number one office in the West. Why? Because I think I can. Number two.
Because I think I can. I like it.
Yeah. I want to. I look at the field of competition, and I think I just know more, right? Mm-hmm. So what was happening when I was working with that mindset, I would be in the middle of the pack, or maybe in the top half of the pack, the top 10 of the pack, but I was never number one.
Okay.
And everybody else was number one, too, the ranking, and I can beat them. And I just they're lucky this, they're lucky to be that. They were just in the right place at the right time. And next thing I know, I was self-defeating myself because it was just the wrong attitude I had. And the more harder I was working, I could barely get into the 5 position. And, all that was good money, and nobody's really behind me. And I just felt like I wasn't where I needed to be. And next thing I know, something came out of somewhere. I can't identify where, but it came to me that you're not freaking grateful.
Okay.
It came out of the blue, like you're not grateful.
You mean something just struck you? Like a thought came in your mind? Like an inspiration?
Like inspiration. You're not grateful. Why would you judge yourself against these other people? You don't know what they're doing. You don't know any of this. And you're not even grateful for what you got. You don't even appreciate that you're in the top 10 out of 50.
Because you're looking at it like, oh, fuck, I'm number 5. I'm going to get another month where I'm not number 1. Instead of being like, look, I'm number 5. That's great.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just a bad attitude. And the more I kept pouring into the office, the more I kept pushing the office. Again, not out of... I wouldn't push them from the point that the money is just, I just felt like we need to be there. And I kept telling the team, we need to be there. We need to chase Tacoma, Washington. We need to chase down Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're better than them, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And they said, yeah, we are. And we would work harder and we would never get there.
Still never get there.
Then something said, you're just ungrateful. Then I said, I'm going to start adopting an attitude of gratitude.
Okay.
And I started actually telling my regional directors.
God, this is brilliant.
You know what? They said, Dr. Brannon, what's different? Something's different about you. Because I got an attitude of gratitude. And they said, what does that mean?
I got an attitude of gratitude.
Because I'm grateful for where I'm at. You know, I got this office and we're doing good. And my staff, we're doing good. We're just great. You know, we're doing what we're supposed to do. And next thing you know what happens? I'm freaking number 1.
Without trying.
Because I had a different attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
And from that point, I got my first associate. And then the next thing you know, it just spins. It just starts spinning because I kept promoting that attitude of gratitude. Next thing you know, this is probably one of the major stepping stones to get me where I'm at today is the attitude of gratitude.
So you also then, let's bring it back to what you talked about that that doctor told you, which is like, if you keep getting up to go count the money, instead of just focusing on what you're doing, you're never going to get where you want to be. So you just started, honestly, you got present with what you were doing, which is we're here, we're performing well, I'm grateful for it, I'm present in it, I'm not always reaching or looking for more, I'm here, and next thing you know, it happened for you.
Exactly.
I feel like that's fucking brilliant.
And another key thing.
God, I need to remember that.
Don't worry.
Get caught up. I get caught up in competition.
We should never do a podcast together because I think we just be just talking for days. But I want to keep this in because it's special to you. This happened again. I had this improper attitude around 2012. And I said, you know what? I'm gaining weight. I'm getting depressed. And I feel like I'm getting older. And I said, I can't find my keto dojo around here. I said,
okay.
I'm gonna take a mixed martial arts class. What the hell? I got to do something to get my butt off the acting. Again, it's the attitude of not being happy.
Yeah.
And so I joined the martial arts class where we met at
Muay Thai.
AZ Muay Thai.
Uh-huh.
And from that point, things started taking off because now I started having community.
Yes.
I didn't have community before. I could talk about this stuff all day. It's such a connection in 2012. I had my youngest son in 2012. I met you guys, you and Javon, in 2012. And I had this adoption of an attitude of gratitude in 2012.
Gosh.
And everything went in such a different direction once I had that attitude of gratitude because now I had community. Before, I didn't have community. It was just me against the world. And starting in 2012 and moving forward, that's when I started developing my own community within Arizona with dental practices. Because again, every other year, an associate would come out for me and became their own practice owner. So now I was developing my own community.
It's almost like little babies you have out growing up.
But I wasn't having nothing. I was impotent with the bad attitude. But then, again, I just think about, we get up early morning working out. We were pretty diligent with that. And then Javon.
We had a great time.
Yeah. We played our honk honk.
Yeah, honk honk, beep beep, honk honk every morning.
And this is this community. And then look where we're at now. Who would have thought 12 years later?
You know what? I will say that actually is exactly true for me too. That was a transformational time because prior to that, all of my exercise, I've always been fit. Like I've done exercise since I was young, but it was always individual. So I ran by myself. I did road biking, mountain bike. It was all by myself, right? And I kind of liked it that way. You know, sort of a lone wolf type personality. I still have a little bit of that in me.
Me too.
But AZ Muay Thai was really that first place where I had that class setting and where it was like you could be yourself. I don't know if it was something about being so early in the morning or if it's just a certain personality type that was there, but I felt like I was able to be seen as who I was. And fuck, I met my soulmate husband, you know, lifelong friend, you know, and you like Adam is like the, you know, basically a member of our family. That's our coach, was a member of our, is now like a member of our family. Like it was such a pivotal time, but it changed me because it caused me to realize that like, I'm only being that way, that lone wolf way to protect myself from like being exposed as not knowing everything, or, you know, it's like an ego thing. It's not, it wasn't really serving me at all. It was just a way of like self-protection. So getting in that environment, having to look stupid, like I was not good at that. So it was like every day in there, like looking like an idiot, sweating my fucking balls off if I had them. Like,
yes, you were.
I sweat like Whitney Houston singing the national anthem back. Like that's how fucking bad I sweat.
I held pads for you a lot of times, so remember that.
You sweat too, though.
Yeah,
The two of us was it was messy, but that period of time helped me grow a lot because it helped me like open up and like start to ask for help more, be comfortable with not being good at everything.
Me too.
So that community aspect is huge. And I think transforming like your ability to be more receptive to like growing, right? Because it's like, how are you going to grow if you're not like open to other people looking at you, seeing you, and then being like, hey, can I help you? Like, you look like you're kind of like fucking struggling.
And gratitude.
And thank you for helping me too. And like not feeling like, oh, like I'm a burden. Like, I don't want anyone to help me. Like, because I don't want to be a burden. Instead, just being like, hey, thanks for helping me.
Like your husband, Javon, would stay off and a lot of times with me, and he would encourage me and he'll keep me going. And, you know, again, when you enter a gym like that, you got to throw away egos. Whatever you do in the outside world, you got to throw that away, you know.
You got real UFC fighters there, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I learned how to protect myself. I built myself up. And again, I had the attitude of gratitude through the community.
Yeah.
And so it was a pivotal point of my life that changed with that adoption of the attitude of gratitude, and then kind of opens the door of where I'm at today.
Oh my God. I think that is such a like perfect way to end the conversation. Attitude of gratitude. So that was a transformational point that helped you going from like constantly looking, reaching to like, I'm happy with what I have. And because you got to that state, things just sort of flowed.
Yes.
For you. All right. Hey, thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah.
This was so like, I know this is so valuable for so many people. So thanks for taking the time and sharing like your awesome story.
I'm glad. I hope you have me back again.
Of course.
I got too much to share.
Okay. We'll do it again.
All right.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.